middle, as we always enter in. 45.
Uh-huh.
What? An apple in April. 70 degrees on a Wednesday. In the myth. And a Sabbath of snow, while the builder who never rests, the master maker, architecton Bezalel, builds a place of rest in the center of the heart's futility. No more apples to see, invisible apples, the heart's fugitivity, its flight from clarity and rest and from happy Egypt, those water miracles. But the only error is the overripe, not to say apple, when the mind tenders you, a rare fruit with its long arms, or not to have flown the tropics north when winter ended, but to have lingered, to have wondered, is the winter really over? Sun dark over the mown Greenport field, and the birds all crying our outcry against the Catskills, dark and blue mountains, a color we couldn't see, the birds we could only hear, just as the heart we only hear and never see, listen to it and obey and never know it whole. Does it have wings? We entered the woods at dusk and entered the dark, and the darker, down the ravine on a cleared path, seeing nothing, feeling the slope, to the old stream's empty bed, where it left behind sands of all its worries, gone into the Hudson, into the sea, gone into the air. There we did turn back. I have always been scared by the night in trees, the night in animals, the night in words. We walked without seeing the path go true, touch and taste, inferences of how and where. The pace is transformation, by blue steps, slow as the tongue works its rock, or the neck, or the ear, or rib. It could have been April, it was May, or it was June. It was June in the heart, not fearless, but in these obscure woods, not alone, like he was, but with you, and with you in the sudden field open, when the trees gave us a way to break out, into the form, the radiant rhythm, out and in the radiant rhythm, the kingdom of breathing. 46. Birds, where do they go? To ask this is to wonder where it is that we, all bird watchers, augurs, go, where we go in the winter time. Birds are the threads of our lives, from grief to grief, from one season in which song is a royal stream to the season of thaws that has recently been upon us. A friend wrote me and said that till the 19th century, no one knew whether or not it was the same birds that came back in the springtime, that a young Audubon attached gold threads to the legs of cave swallows, and that the next spring these birds resumed their habitation of the very same tree. I read last night that it was pewees, not swallows, which we call phoebes now, the birds of Diana, and that the threads were silver, not gold. I read that it may never have happened. I read too much. I read. Have the birds gone into the rains, become clouds, become vapors? Have they thrown themselves into the walls of mountains and become the little faces we see in the rock? Do they sleep under the ground? A young man from France, of all places, steals into a nest while the parents are gone, ties fine threads of gold or of silver to the legs of the young birds. Young man, young birds. Pennsylvania, Alabama, North Carolina, Maine. What we can speak of is happening everywhere. The story is always occurring. It could be a gold thread or silver, or call it the string of attention, which is now solar and of science, now lunar and of dream. It could be that different birds come back. It could be that she is another being, transformed, converted, when she comes back a month later, but still, there it is, the shimmering filament, where the greater ornithologist tied it, the right ankle, the unprotected ankle. It could be that the birds come back, but nest in the neighbor's yard, or in the next cave, the next county. But that is the drift of language, from peewee to Phoebe, from Phoebus to Fievel, not the drift of the heart. and not the dispersal of experience we had thought was our lives. These birds are the threads themselves from season to season as we look up into the sky. We're in the field, having found our way out of the woods in the darkness, or we're each alone, you there, me here, and looking up wonder where they are going, and wonder what is this power that seems to fall from them into our living song. We live in the birds' kingdom, exactly as we suppose they live in ours. They are the true authors of the book that is always everywhere around us unfolding, the singers of the song of reticulate being, the governors of space and time. Yesterday, my brother and I walked out after the rains on the dirty road to the lake, past the rooster howling out his desire from some sylvan pen beyond the ranch. When we came to the water, I sent my eyes to the far shore, the mists, hills, overhanging trees. Meanwhile, he looked at the water and saw something amazing. The temperature must have fallen just then below what we had thought, for there were the first animalcules of ice suspended in the otherwise liquid lake, like little birds on invisible branches, or thousands of sleeping children, little tadpoles of ice, minuscule but unmistakable. Returning to the water, it had not too long ago departed in these March warmings. It was there, seen, if seen at all, tentative and fine threads of ice. 47. An ancient lake, neither ice nor liquid, but viscous, a thicker fluid, before things were separated out, with all the substance in solution. With one's hand, but there was no one then, one could pick up a handful, glob, of ocean and hold it and squeeze it, because those below, the feeling creatures, were slow then and sagacious. To touch them is to be them. To hold anything in both hands is to be wise. We descend from the birds of the old air, whose skin was all seed, the most sensitive seed, the whole body a sense organ. They were the sense organs of earth itself, nervous, intelligent, swift, swooping to the water with our mouths and hands open. For what, if not for the stuff of touch and taste, the water that thickens now in fruit, which makes us wiser, which means makes the heart slower, slow enough to receive the imprint of the ancientest dream. For a long time the human was a session of some silent soul, invisible, not quite bodiless, but very fine, lost in the beautiful language that is so fine it moves freely in solid rock. Dream that the human being took the minerals from the sea and built her bones. Then the waters flowed, and she swam. Two brothers went walking in the rain to dissolve the mined stone of the impasse. There was the lake and what looked like threads of ice, what looked like, what wasn't ice. What was it? What were they who hung there, invertebrate bodies of the dreamers? 48. To an unknown God. It is not a dream. It is written right there on the outcrop, the cerebral limestone. Our feet slip down. It has been raining in Athens. The napkins are wet. Crumpled, undyed linen stuffed into starched collars, niches in rock. The gods are rock, but writing is parthenogenesis. The heart is rock, but writing is parthenogenesis. It makes me Mr. Rock, virginal, so I can read what I fear to read without fear, so I can run my fingers over the carvings, the writings, scratched all over my skin I never felt or knew, but have lived and worshipped these names. Aries, this is his stone. Redface, Mars, this is his month. Men in their flesh go into the fields to rectify stones. It rains. 49. And I speak it every morning and become visible, and I speak it every evening and the lights are off, the candles doused, but the flesh in the room shines in velvet chairs. This is the story after all of it. She who descends in the west rises in the west. the scandal of heartbreak, the heart's soundless departures. No sound can receive the gone star. It all goes up against the drift of the material, which never knows the name. Is it ice or is it water, or is it? I walk the highways, hood up, ignorant of the chasing furies, restless as my sister. I have killed and no art and no temple can protect me, and no God and no sunlight. But I need no protection. I need to sit on the warm stone, naked in the sunlight that has always loved me, in view of strangers who may or may not love me, and let them all catch me all day in their wings. Justice flies through the fugitive, like a second sense in the sentence, a splendid sense. The eye is waking up. With such speed I am the animal, moving through the maze of my own speech, like the fugitive flies until the stone. He touches it. This is the night's wall. He batters it with his ideas, but it is stone. It is strong. It doesn't simply give way. And then the stone gives way at last when he stops reaching, when his reading touches an area in the heart of war, where the pieces of light recombine, and men and women against the principium move in the masked procession.